Hi, I'm Peter Manos, Director of Research with the ARC Advisory Group in Utilities and Smart Cities. And I'm here with Joe Bastone from Honeywell. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks.
So Honeywell's playing a lot of interesting roles in the digital transformation across a lot of industries.
That's right.
From just a general point of view, what would you most want to tell the listening audience about the value proposition and that you're seeing nowadays?
So we're really excited about Experian PKS Hive. Hive stands for Highly Integrated Virtual Environment. And we really see it as a way of being able to fundamentally change how automation projects are engineered, delivered, deployed, and supported over the long term. It's made up of three major pieces. There's IO Hive, there's Control Hive, and there's IT Hive. In the latest release of Experian that came out last August, we brought all of those pieces together and are deploying it on projects today.
Excellent. So the IT/OT convergence, all that expertise that exists in the IT world, and then you have operations people with all their operations and OT experience. How do you see Honeywell's automation solutions with Hive helping to address that convergence of IT and OT?
Great question. So there's a lot of functionality that we can borrow from the IT industry, especially as it relates to things like Control Hive. So with Control Hive, what we've done is we've decoupled the hardware that's running the control from the actual application itself. And that's an industry first. No one's actually been looking at a piece of control hardware as just a piece of hardware. And with Control Hive, we split it up into its constituent pieces such that the control application itself can float from one controller to another controller while maintaining the traditional one-on-one redundancy that we've seen in the automation industry over the last 40 years.
Can you elaborate on the value that brings and contrast it with the wrong way of doing it, shall we say?
Sure. So the traditional way is a one-on-one relationship. So I have two pieces of hardware, two controllers that one is the primary, one's the backup. And if you take the primary out of service, the backup will automatically come up and take over the primary mission. Now, while that backup or while that primary is out of service, you're running as a non-redundant controller. So if something happens to that,
you don't have a second point of failure anymore.
Right. You can't have that fail. Right. So with Control Hive, what we've done is we still use that traditional one-on-one redundancy path between the applications. Now, if I take a controller out of service, I can start to the primary is taken out of service. The backup will automatically take over as the primary, and then an orchestrator that's running on the Experian system will spin up another backup application amongst the spare space that's available within the Control Hive. So even if I take one controller out of service to do maintenance on it, a technician hits the power switch on the wrong cabinet, I don't lose the one-on-one redundancy that we have within the system.
Excellent. So it really is a hive.
It really is. Really excited about it because it really increases the resiliency of the solution. So no longer do I have to worry about, I might have 3 pairs of controllers, 6 in total. And if I lose one of those controllers, the other 2 redundant pairs can't do anything about that one that's running non-redundant. With a Hive, now I can do that kind of sharing the load amongst all the controllers that are out there.
What industry applications really delighted you the most when you first saw how it was bringing a new benefit that was unexpected?
Gosh, we're really seeing the benefits across all verticals, all industries. From a refining standpoint and oil and gas standpoint, the increased resiliency that you have across the entire solution makes a random failure much less impactful on the overall operations of the system. When there is some sort of issue with a controller, whether it's taken out of service, whether you're doing a turnaround, there's always a heightened sense of awareness that that part of the process is running with a non-redundant controller. Now, with this new solution, you don't have to worry about that nearly as much. So if a controller is taken out of service, at the proverbial Sunday morning at 3 a.m., you can actually wait until Monday morning when the engineers come in to review what happened. Technicians can get to it when the time suits.
What is the best practice or the range of viable options for implementing this? In other words, is it a big bang? Do you do it when you have a planned outage because of some other piece of equipment that needs to be refurbished or replaced, or can it be done? Can the ship be repaired while it's crossing the sea?
Oh gosh! Okay. So the initial implementation would require some work because the Control Hive requires an IO Hive to have that sea of IO. Continuing the analogy here, that sea of IO that's out there. We want all controllers to be able to access all IO that's out in the field. So we'd have to implement that to get that decoupling between control and IO. Now, once we've done that, adding another controller is just a matter of saying, okay, I'm putting a new controller into the Hive. It's at the right rev, and now I can start moving applications to it. In the future, we'll be able to do that with virtual machines. So now the notion of having a physical controller backed up by a virtual controller is something that we can start to really think about and really increase the resiliency another degree.
It sounds like a strong value proposition. And what would you most like to tell the audience as closing thoughts or next steps, or what you'd like them to look at in terms of getting more information?
Oh gosh. So we have our website, process.honeywell.com, has extensive information as it relates to Experian PKS Hive and IO Hive and Control Hive and IT Hive. Really excited about the foundation that we're laying here for IO Hive applications, Control Hive applications, and we really see it as a way forward to be able to easily expand processes and keep them completely up to date in a very simple and easy to use way.
Excellent. That was very informative. Thanks so much.
Welcome.
We've been listening to Joe Bastone of Honeywell, and this is ARC Advisory Group thanking you for listening in.